All right, I know the title sounds a little clickbaity, but I really do feel like this synthesizer and this virtual instrument equivalent is one of the coolest things I've ever seen in terms of computer synthesis. It's a pretty lofty claim. But this new setup, this is Arturia's Minifreak synthesizer that just came out a few weeks ago, and they promised us that if you got the Minifreak, you would get this VST, this virtual version of the Minifreak for your computer. It's not until you really stop and think about what you've got here that makes this so much different than anything that's out there already. So I know Omnisphere does have the ability to control software and with synthesizers. So you can actually take other synthesizers like the Moog Sub 37 and you can then control patches specifically with those knobs, and they all work with Omnisphere in an integrated way. But there's nothing quite as integrated as this on the market as far as I know. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, please. Think about this now. You've got a hardware synthesizer that's got all the fun of a hardware synthesizer. You can take it away from your computer. You can work on patches with your headphones, come back to your computer or come back to your setup or whatever. And with this one now you can work on patches. You can come back, you can load them onto your computer. You can also build your songs on your computer, and then you could take your setup and take it on the road. So you could actually dump your patches right onto the Minifreak. But let's go play around with the software, build up a little idea, and show you why I think this is just so revolutionary and so exciting. Oh, and by the way, they're not paying me to make the video, but they pay me in hardware, which is definitely payment. That's why it says paid promotion at the beginning. And I probably have affiliate links in the description for something like Thomann, so you can go use that if you want. But I don't make much money off of those. I don't really care about that. All I want to do is show off cool stuff in my videos and help you make decisions on whether something is going to be right for you. I love doing this kind of stuff, and I love seeing people get connected with the right stuff. So here we go. All right, so I've got one little patch loaded up here just to start with. And I don't have the audio turned on the synthesizer right now. So you can see if I turn this up, it gets louder because now we're hearing the virtual version and the hardware version. So let me turn down the volume on this guy. So now we're hearing the hardware coming into my audio interface. Now we've got audio coming from the synthesizer, turn the master off here and turn it up on the software, and now we're hearing the virtual version. So we're going to stick with the virtual version for the rest of this video, but basically just be using this as a perfectly integrated controller. Every time I turn one knob on here, it's going to change up on software. Okay, so now I've got another patch loaded, and all I have to do is click Link to Minifreak on this one. And it does a little reading of the presets. Takes just a few seconds, and you're up and running now with this one. So now I can go over here and I can change the patch. Let's try something like percussion. And you can see that it's updating on the computer as well. Now you get to decide, work entirely from hardware or work from software or a bit of both. And I think the more you get into programs and hardware like Machine, the more you realize how powerful that kind of really smooth integration is. And I think that's going to be really fun for a lot of people, myself included. And before I move on to any patches, let's try turning a knob. So if I turn the cutoff, you can see and turn the resonance. Right now, this knob position is over here at about 1 o'clock. Over here, it's at 11. If I turn the knob and just start turning, you can see that it kind of catches to where I am right there. And then eventually smoothly gets you to wherever the knob is on the software. Orange knobs don't matter because they're endless. They'll just go to adapt to whatever's on the software, which is brilliant. So there's just a few knobs that have hard stops on them. And if we go over to the settings and we go to knob catch, we can see that it's set to scale right now. If the knob is at a different spot, then it's going to catch up to it. So let's go to the advanced tab and we'll try turning this rise knob right here. So watch what happens when I turn it to the right. You can see that other one catches up, And eventually, now we're at the same spot. That's a really neat way of working with this. What about if I set this hold all the way up, and let's go down a patch, and then let's go back to that one. Let's see what happens here in this case, because this knob is way over far right, and this one on the software is at far left. So watch what happens. If I start turning it to the left, I guess it'll let you catch up to it, and then you turn to the right. Okay, that works easily. Let's try something like this. Okay, so now let's watch this hold knob. I turn it to the right a little bit. And what's it gonna do? By the time it gets to the end over here, it's caught that knob up. That's a really neat way to work. Actually, I might work that way. I was thinking at first of switching it to knob catch and set it to hook. And the way hook works is, let's look at the cutoff knob right now. If I've got it set at 11 o'clock right here, and this one's far left up on the software, if I turn it to the right, nothing's gonna happen until I go and get the knob at the original place that it was at, and then now that knob works. I like that as well, but I actually think I like the scale better. And then jump is where it would just jump to whatever position you then put it at on the hardware. So if you look at this fall knob and I set it to jump, as soon as I start turning, it's gonna instantly jump the software to match whatever's on the hardware. So you could end up kind of screwing up the settings that you have on the software really easily by accidentally touching one of these knobs. So I'm gonna set that one to scale. I love it. Now we're gonna go through and start playing around with some patches. So let's go and click on the little library button. And this is another beautiful part of this connection. And this is something I love about the Polybrute, is that you can then use the Polybrute software to browse patches as well. Amazing setup, but the Polybrute doesn't have a virtual instrument version of itself on the computer. I would love that. That'd be amazing. I don't know how easy that would be because it's an analog synthesizer. This is all digital, right? And one more note, by the way, this one doesn't have wavetable import. And I know a lot of people are frustrated by that. And at first I was like, why doesn't this have wavetable import? Is this just because the Minifreak has it and they want to have something separate on the Minifreak? And my thinking is that right now this is kind of a self-contained unit. You can plug in audio jacks in the back end, you can process audio, but there's no way to put any of your own samples or wavetables onto this synthesizer. And I feel like by keeping it a closed system, it ensures compatibility with the virtual instrument. So maybe that's why. I'm not making up excuses, but and I don't know what the reasoning is, but to me, that kind of makes sense. This is a self-contained Minifreak in a way. Let's start with sequenced patches, and let's go to a rhythmic sequence. Okay, just a couple of patches here, double click. And then I can just go down to the next patch to hear the next one. I like that. Let's play with the rhythm here, and let's take it down to 90 beats per minute. So automatically syncing to the tempo of our host. Don't have to change anything. Hit the advanced button. And let's try playing with this LFO2. Okay, so now we can tell that most of what we're hearing right now is coming from LFO2, and this one is set to the shaper right now. So let's click on the LFO shaper down here, and there's LFO2. Let's try playing with this. Let's mess around with this. Let's try the other way. So LFO shaper, going to be a whole lot easier working with on the software than it is on the hardware. Very cool stuff, but we're kind of lost the beat that we had originally. So let's go back to that patch. But let's go see if we can find something else to put the beat to. Now let's duplicate that track and link this one to the Minifreak. And now let's go to the browser. Let's look for something kind of keys-like. And then let's go back to our beat and see if we can make that one work in there. So let's go play with this first lead that I've got in there and see if we can come up with something sweet with that. Click on the virtual instrument. I'm going to actually link this one now. And now we're tweaking that synth. So let's play with the cutoff. Let's just see how easy it is to automate stuff. So let's go for it. I'm just going to start playing and see what happens, but I'm also going to activate some automation. And look at that. Now we've got the automation written in Cubase, played the notes in. Are you starting to see how powerful this is? Like, this is kind of blowing my mind right now. This is the first time I've done this, first time I've played with it. All right, I spent some time tweaking those patches, slowed it down a little bit, added a little beat. Really enjoying this integration of hardware and software. My only complaint at this point is the number of patches. I'd love to see more patches. And the other thing I'm excited about is taking this hardware out of the studio and just going and sitting there and tweaking patches, making patches of my own with some headphones away from the studio, come back in, instantly dump them onto the computer. Like, this is going to be really revolutionary in terms of synthesis. I hope that more companies take a note from this and do the same thing. So thanks for watching. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and the bell. I'll see you in the next video.